Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Tinnitist TV. Today, I'm talking to the one and only Art Bergmann. You know, he just might be the most underappreciated man in the history of Canadian rock. At the very least, that's how he feels about it sometimes, but not without good reason. After all, Bergmann helped usher in the Vancouver and thus the Canadian punk scene with his trio, the Young Canadians, way back in the 70s. Then he went on to release a series of excellent solo albums, working with artists like Cale and Spedding, and earning a couple of Juno nominations along the way. He was even the inspiration for the reclusive rocker Bucky Haight in Bruce McDonald's classic can punk mockumentary Hardcore logo, and he did a cameo in the film to boot. But thanks to the usual combination of bad luck, bad decisions, bad habits, and, in Art's case, a pretty bad attitude and a run of bad health due to degenerative arthritis, his career stalled out in the early 2000s. And while he's made something of an impressive comeback lately, releasing 4 albums in the last 8 years, he still hasn't really enjoyed the acclaim he deserves. Until recently, that is. In 2020, Bergmann was made a member of the Order of Canada. And this fall, veteran music journalist Jason Schneider wrote The Longest Suicide, the first biography of Bergmann, and certainly the last word on his tumultuous life and career. And just this past week, Art went to Ottawa for the Order of Canada ceremony, which was delayed 2 years by, well, you know what. Anyway, a few weeks back, Bergmann and Schneider zoomed in to talk about that book title, Regrets, Why Valdy is Art's Fault, and his next album, Shadowwalk, Legacy of Love, his first work since the death of his beloved wife, Sherri, earlier this year. Enjoy. All right, Art Bergmann, Jason Schneider, thank you guys for taking the time to talk with me today.
Hi.
Thank you, Daryl.
Those are some lovely nails, Art. What's with the just on one hand?
Oh, well, there's a lighter move on the other hand.
Sorry, it was too subtle for me, because you're a man of subtlety.
Showbiz.
That's right. That's right. So we are here today to talk, obviously, about the new biography that Jason has written of Art called The Longest Suicide, a really joyful title, that one. So how did this collaboration come about?
Well, I'll start, Art. Well, first of all, the title was Art's suggestion. He had a few of them, and when I heard that one, I just thought, yeah, it just clicked with me. Like, it's one of the best titles I've ever heard. So
Was it also like the most commercial title? Were there others that were like, nope, nope, nope?
No, listen, it's just another 2 words for life.
Yeah.
So did you approach Art? Is that how this came about?
Well, I think where it all started was Phil Kligo of We Work Records, Art's label. He actually kind of planted the seed with me maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. Just, you know, him knowing my work, doing other books, and so yeah, that got me going, and Art and I started having kind of regular telephone conversations for a while, just talking about his life. That got me going, and then at the end of 2020, when Art received the Order of Canada, that's when it really kind of kicked me in the butt to say, okay, if we're gonna do this, now's probably the best time, because I imagine there's a lot of people in Canada who, you know, would want to know more about him. So yeah, it was, yeah, I guess so. It was sort of a gradual process over about the last 5 or 6 years.
Okay, so Art, when you were approached with this, I mean, how did you respond? Because I don't get the sense that you would necessarily be a guy who wanted somebody to write a book about them.
Why not?
You seem to me like you're part of that you would, like Groucho, not want to be a member of any club that would have you as a member.
That's absolutely correct. But there's some amazing stories along my road, and Jason just is a nice enough man to want to to want to put them down, and I thought they're really entertaining, and that's what it's all about.
Were there any ground rules or conditions going into this that you set down for Jason?
Only that I got to check what he thought were his facts, that several of which were wrong regarding his conversations with other people in my life. I have an immaculate memory, so I had to fact check the old band members about stories they had about me.
All right. Were there any stories that you got wrong and that they had right?
Not that I know of. Yeah, when I read the first draft, so, and then my wife died, and I was not in the mood to read about it, so I haven't read the final copy. So you'll have to get back to me on that.
All right. Jason, that was a question I wanted to ask is when you're writing a book like this, in fact, when you're writing almost any biography, but maybe this one in particular, you're often dealing with the distant memories of people who were kids and probably high at the time. So how do you kind of, find the truth versus the legend, or do you just go with the Liberty Valance thing and print the legend?
Well, yeah, well, above all, as Art said, I mean, well, the main ground rule for me was obviously Art had, final cut with everything. And, whenever there was something that was a little debatable, I obviously, went with Art's memory. But yeah, I mean, there were, I guess, a couple of occasions where, there were stories that were just, too awesome to to not, include the way they were originally kind of told to me. But there was some massaging done, I guess, we could put it that way.
This question, the truth is always stranger than the stories that people remember, and that's that.
Were any names changed to protect the guilty?
I hope not.
No names changed on my end for sure. But I gotta say though, once I started doing interviews with people, across the board, I don't know, I might have interviewed at least 40 or 50 people, and every one of them had nothing but pure love, just great things to say about Art. I mean, I gotta say, I was expecting at least a couple people to just kind of come out and say, oh yeah, he was a real dick or something like that at this point in time. But it was all, I was just blown away by the amount of love that was shown in all the interviews that I did. So
Art, do you think maybe it's because they're still do you think it's maybe because they're still scared of you a little?
Good question. They no, nothing to fear from me now.
So what was this experience like of talking with Jason and kind of going back and rooting through your past and trying to remember all this stuff? Was it hard? Was it easy? Was it cathartic? Was it enjoyable? What was it like for you?
It was conversational, and I love how my mind works when the suggestion comes in. All kinds of old stories would come up, and it was not a difficult procedure at all.
Do you think you learned anything about yourself in the process?
Every day, yeah.
Can you maybe give me an example?
Geez, I can't remember the book right now.
Well, well, sorry if I can jump in. I mean, the one, you know, I basically wrote it, you know, in chronological order. So, I mean, I wanted to start with trying to find out as much as I could about Art's family history, and that actually proved really fascinating once I kind of made some connections in that area. And I was really blown away learning about your father, Art. Like, he was just seemed like such a, you know, amazing man, just, you know, full generous and always, you know, trying to help people. And when I found that article he wrote for Maclean's in the early 70s, that really all kind of tied it all together, because, you know, he was a great writer too, and just, you know, just someone who just fought the good fight his whole life. So anyway, just wanted to mention that.
Socialismo, may I say something? Yeah, you found out shit about my dad I didn't know about his early years, especially the part about coming out of the Ukraine during the Russian Revolution. It was an awesome story.
Yes, they're great. And the whole book is I think there's a lot of detail in it. I mean, not only about Art, but you do a great job of setting it all in context in terms of, you know, what else was going on at the time, what else was going on in the Canadian music industry, and kind of just, you know, it doesn't just kind of hang out there loose like a balloon. It's very firmly grounded in the chronology of events. So my compliments to that. You obviously did an incredible amount of detailed work on this.
Yeah, research. Amazing amount of work. Yeah.
Well, thanks. Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. Yeah, well, I felt it was important to, you know, provide, you know, a lot of context about the Vancouver punk scene, and you know, just about how, well, especially today, you know, if you want to talk about the music business, you know, today compared to 30, 40 years ago, I mean, it's a completely different thing. And, you know, I just imagine that a lot of, you know, a lot of people of all ages probably don't realize how drastically things have changed. So I thought that was important.
Definitely. We were talking about this a little earlier, Art, but one of the things I loved about the book was that it made me go back and listen to all of your music again, all the way back to K-Tells and Young Canadians and the solo albums. And it was just, I loved it because these were a lot of songs that I honestly hadn't heard for years. So to go back and listen to everything, you know, Hawaii and Ottoman, and I was just listening to Sexual Roulette yesterday. These are all great hunks of Canadian rock and roll, and I understand that you kind of had a similar thing where you've kind of been going back and listening to some of the stuff too.
Yes. I don't know how to say this, but my caregiver and consort here, Patricia, has been researching me as well, and we were listening to old tracks, and it's amazing how they stand up actually for their time and now.
Have there been surprises in that for you? Songs that maybe you didn't like at the time or thought were throwaways, and then have sort of popped up as, wow, this is, you know, better than I anticipated, or than I thought it was?
No, I always write the best song I can at the time, and I'm not surprised at how good they are.
Do you have, I mean, is there a ton of stuff that you recorded and then never got released, or that you have archived? Or is what we can see and hear on Spotify and YouTube, is that pretty much all there is?
Let me see. There's odd tracks here and there that will be coming out as bonuses on the new album that have appeared, and that's and they're incredible. So, but as far as a whole wealth of lost material, no.
Okay. Well, you said the words new album, so I think we're going to have to just segue to that right now. tell me about this new album. Tell me, everything you can tell us about it, because I think there's a lot of people who are always excited for a new album from you.
Well, it's already got a title and 4 songs completed. I did one yesterday at 5:30 in the morning. And I wrote a hymn, actually. It took me 1 hour, and it's for me that it's effing amazing. It's called Hymn to Us, and it's also called A Legacy of Love. So I'm really, really proud of that. And of course, the one I wrote for my wife, Death of a Siren, is going to be on it, and on and on. They're coming fast and furiously, but the new album will come out hopefully in spring. We're recording in spring, by spring, and out soon after that. I'm hoping. We're doing a fundraising now, starting now, and et cetera, et cetera.
Do you want to share that album title, or are you keeping it under wraps for now?
Shadowwalk.
Sorry?
Shadowwalk, Legacy of.
All right. And so you say you've got 4 songs. How many more do you think you want to do for this one?
Well, they're coming fast and furious, so who knows?
All right. Maybe a double album.
Yeah, maybe.
So when you listen back to your old stuff, like we were talking about before, do you see any faults? Are there things where you go, yeah?
Never. The past is dead, my friend.
Okay, you just move on. All right. To that extent, is there anything that you would change about what you've done career-wise or music-wise? Do you have regrets, or is it just it was what it was?
I would never have broken up the Young Canadians. I should never have broken up the Young Canadians. He tells. Jim Bescott was heartbroken forever. And those guys were the best players in the world in that band.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. If I could I just wanted to add to that. Well, that was an important part of the story for me to write too, because as Art said, getting the general feeling about that band was that, I think it was clear that, they were kind of on the way to to breaking wide, and they were considered by among their peers to be the best band out of all those Vancouver bands at that time. So I mean, I think that's that was a really I don't know, it's weird for me to kind of talk about this with Art sitting right here, but yeah, it was kind of a sad part of the story that band didn't kind of go on. Well, because you could also hear kind of a musical evolution happening too. You guys were kind of expanding your sound. It seemed towards the end too, getting into adding more kind of textures and stuff as well.
After touring with a band like XCC, holy man, those guys were so good night after night. Really inspiring, really inspired me to get better at my craft. And then I went off to play with some friends that I drank with in Los Populeros. It was really a bad career move.
But not your only one. I mean, it seems to me like you just couldn't kind of catch a break, Do you? I mean, are there not points in your story where you go, geez, if only I was nicer to that guy, or if only I had done this instead of that? I mean, do you think back in those terms?
No, I think about if only there hadn't been a conspiracy against me not to succeed, I would have been okay. By the way, I won't name names here, but did you name any in the book, Jason?
Oh, about people who are conspiring against you? Well, not directly, but there there were definitely some you know, some issues. Let's just leave it at that.
Leave it at that. There was people saying, "Don't touch this guy with a 10-foot pole."
There you go.
Do you still bear a grudge? Because I mean, here's the thing: they're all gone, and you're still here.
Peace.
You and Ringo with the peace sign.
Here's my Canada pins.
Oh wow! I was going to ask. So again, again, what was that experience like? Because for you, it must have been the last thing you ever expected to have happen.
Which Order of Canada?
Yeah.
We thought it was some elaborate hoax at first, but it's true, and we're going there December. I'm going there December 14th. Oh, I'm not supposed to talk about it when it is. I'm sorry. I don't know why they keep it mixed.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so you're actually going to Ottawa for the ceremony?
No, it's coming up.
Okay, all right.
And are you going to take that occasion to make some statements?
I have to interrupt here. You have to take that out. I'm specifically requested not to talk about when and where and how this is going to happen.
Yeah, no worries. I can drop that out. That's easy.
But
So,
it's an honor and use it wisely.
So after the album comes out, I understand that you also want to go on tour again.
Absolutely. I have to do some physio because I got osteoarthritis in my spine. I can't trouble standing, but we're going to work on that and see if I can't get up there with a guitar again.
Well, I think I can speak for every rock fan in Canada when I say that we can't wait to see you back on a stage again. It's been far too long.
I can't wait.
There is one bone I have to pick with you, though. I think in the book there's a story about how your old band, I think it's the Schmorgs, or maybe the one even before the Schmorgs, you guys played and you had Valdy open up for you, and the crowd were so shitty to him that he went and wrote "Play Me a Rock and Roll Song" about that gig. So I mean, that in my mind makes you responsible for Valdy, sir.
I don't even know if that story is that story true?
That's what David Mitchell told me.
So the true story of that will never be known, I guess. I don't remember it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll let you off the hook then. So listen, guys, is there anything else that we should talk about today?
Well, yeah, well, I guess I just, wanted to underline the point too about doing the book, that, part of it was definitely, telling the stories, but the other motivation for me too was to, explore Art's work and the songwriting and to really emphasize that, as well as you were saying. I think it always, his body of work always deserves to be heard. People going back, and hopefully some younger people who haven't heard it will discover it now. So I think to expose the music was just as important to me as telling the stories.
And I know this is probably impossible given the convoluted nature of your business dealings and back catalog, but I would love to see like a comprehensive box set someday.
Yeah, there was talk of that with a person in Los Angeles, but fell through because he didn't know what he was doing. So hopefully we will get around to that soon, but the new album is always a priority.
Of course, yeah, but to get that would be fantastic.
Yeah, no, that's something I've wanted. That was actually the thing I wanted. I was talking to Phil from WeWork about before, doing the book. I thought, yeah, let's do a box set first, but then, yeah, he kind of talked me into doing the book. But yeah, no, that's something that I've had in mind for a long time that I'd love to see happen eventually. So yeah,
Yeah.
we're of the same mind on that for sure.
And on the plus side, you've already written the liner notes.
Exactly.
All right, guys. Well, listen,
Hey,
I'll give you the last word, Art. Oh, that is beautiful.
legacy of love. Okay.
Yes. Love to Sherri.
Yeah, deepest condolences, Art. Seriously.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, listen, thanks so much for your time today. Thanks for the book. Thanks for all the music. And best of luck going down the road. We look forward to that new album and to seeing you coming out east.
I love Winnipeg.
No, you don't.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Daryl.
All right, guys. Bye-bye.